was about 3, my Mom Hugh and my Pop Gum moved from Atlantic City to 228 Sheridan, just a block over from our house. And I was happy. I didn't know it then, but I was going to be happy because they were a big part of my life. Because you'd come out my house, you walk across Rittenhouse, you go right across North Dakota, and you go to this minute little tract of woods. And you cut through there, go through the alley, and there's their back gate. So then you reach through the slats and unlatch the gate and go in for visiting time. And through the years, my mom and Pop were there. Uncle Monty and Auntie Muga were there. Sule was there. Cousins, everybody was there. And I'd go there all the time. I loved it. Now, the thing about Uncle Monty and Auntie Muga, they really, really, really changed my life. You know. Now, Daddy knew something had to be done because I was talking like this, because I was going to school on the other side of town. And Dad said, this boy is 12. He needs to be re-socialized for his own safety. And so I went to Rabault Junior High School, right around the corner from my house. And Auntie Muga, my mom's oldest brother's second wife, was math teacher at Rabault Junior High School. And that's one of the things that saved me, because I'd been going to school with Goodell, remember Goodell? Mondale, with all these senators and all this other stuff, and now I'm going back in the hood. So I needed some backup, because I was sounding like this. It didn't exactly fit in, you know what I'm talking about, in the 70s. And so Muga also, Auntie Jean, Auntie Muga, she had the African Heritage Club, after-school club. And part of that was the Oya African dancers and drummers. I got a chance to dance, I drum and singing and stories and doing all this stuff, and I learned leadership, and I got paid touring the city, and this really put that spark in me that got me here. Studying culture, living culture, dealing with culture bearers, sucking it in, absorbing it, spirit, culture, life, all the way to Africa, into the diaspora, and all the way back. And here I am. And when I got back, I realized what I had was what I always had, but it had to be shined in other climes. So now, with that impetus of Oya, let's jump forward 20 years. I'm back in DC, going to New York, going out. I'm back in DC. I'm working at the Smithsonian, digging into African American culture. And I hear that Smithsonian Press is going to publish a book on African American musicians, antebellum musicians. I go out of my office, cross the mall, walk to L'Enfant Plaza, knock, knock, knock. I need a review copy of this book. I write for Banjo Newsletter. I know you don't want this to get out. Well, I got it right away. And I opened this book. Just 40 miles from where I grew up, right along the shores of the Potomac, surrounded by these sandy marshes, was a telephone back in the day. And until they knew how to silence it, the boat just went around and around and around and around at the dock. But then, when it was silenced, they pulled up and stepped on deck, and they realized that Alexander Greer was in the right place. He had just come over from Ireland, and he needed a steak. And he found the widow Stoddard. She had one of the best going tobacco farms in the county. So he got 2 stepkids and a beautiful place, and she got somebody to run it for her. 1796. Well, a few years after that, in the autumn, we know it was the autumn of 1817 because the persimmons were ripening with the cold as the season was changing. Emma, I broke on the world's name. Mrs. Snowden Cooper, Ella Cooper was born on that plantation, on that tobacco farm. And she was well loved by her family, Henry Cooper. And amazing thing about this place, that whole area was unique because it was multi-generational. You had grandfathers and fathers and babies and great-grandmothers, all this living in the same place, on the same plantation. So you had continuity of culture. You had a place that was half black and half white. You had a place that almost half male and half female, which is really rare. So you had really, real strong culture in this place. This is the place that Ellen was born into. This is the place that I found out, 1774, you get the first sighting of a real live banjo by the name Banjo, B-A-N-J-O, at the Negro Ball. This Englishman going by, here's this. So this is a deep place this girl is living in, and she's living a good life, even though she is being cared for by Henry Cooper, the black man that makes the barrels for the tobacco, but her dad is Alexander Greer, the man that owns the place. Well, she's young, so she's feeding the chickens, she's collecting the eggs, she's taking water, she's dusting the house, she's doing all those little kid things that you do around the house. And then when she's 9 years old, Alexander Greer's sister comes over from Antrim, Ireland, with her 7 children, 3 boys and 4 girls. Well, suddenly Ellen Cooper is the playmate for all these girls. And they had a great time for months, till the spring came. And Alexander called her in and said, I'm giving you your freedom. But to get your freedom, you're going to the wilds of the Northwest Territory to be a servant for my sister, who's going to join our brother John in that small Irish contingent in the middle of the wild Northwest Territory, Ohio. In 1820s, it was wild. Knox County, right in the middle. So here we have this. Be free and be a servant for your aunt for the rest of your life. Or stay there and be a slave, and once you grow up, they'll send you to the fields, or you'll be a breeder. Who knows? They board Potomac up to the Chesapeake, to Baltimore, then take the National Road 500 miles to the middle of Ohio. And there, Ellen takes care of Mary all her life. Mary gets old, her kids move away, she's still there. But Ellen decides to make the best of it. She joins a church, Methodist Episcopal Church. She takes care of people, she does work, she learns farming even better for that area. And amazingly, she finds somebody to marry. I mean, this county has less black people than Arizona. 0.8% black people. And she found Thomas Snowden, another black person brought out from Maryland by white people, but from Frederick County, 2 counties north, more industrial. But they found each other, and they married. And John, her uncle, Justice of the Peace for Knox County, married them in 1836. They bought 8 acres of farm, started a family. She was 17, he was 34. And they had a family. Had 9 children, 9 children, 7 of which survived to puberty. 5 of them took the inspiration from their parents and became the Snowden family band. With Sophia and Ben, the 2 oldest, and Annie, the infant, as she's advertised, the infant fiddler, these 3 on fiddles. Lou plays banjo, Martha plays guitar, Phoebe dances, and they all sang in company and played percussion, tambourines, triangle, and bones. Now, this is the only instance we have of female fiddlers at all in the antebellum period, the Snowden family. And they become famous. They tour all over central Ohio for about a 100-mile radius outside of Mt.Vernon where they were, because that's about as far as you can get and have some white person vouch for you in case you get pulled over and expect you're a bunch of runaways. You know? And so they kept this up for years. They did this even after the death of Thomas Snowden in 1858. Then Ellen got on the road and went around with the kids for the Snowden family band. 1860 census, they're not listed as farmers. They're listed as Snowden family band. And they're loved they get all these letters. You know, send me that song. Here's a song. When are you coming again? You make a lot of money if you come out to Missouri. It's like, yeah, well, whatever. They have a farm to run, and they had kids. So that went on. That's 1840s, 1850s, 1860s. And we're going to move up. 1894. Family's still there, part of the community. More black people, not many, but more. And they play for corn shuckings, they play for barn raisings, they play for barbecues, they have people over on their property and all that stuff. Doing good, but it's only Ben and Lou left. All the rest have passed on. Except Mama Snowden. She's still there that year. And that's how we know, because that long write-up, Grandmother Snowden, esteemed colored lady that all know and love, has passed on. Grandmother to all, yes, but grandma to no one. Because Ben and Lou never married. Now, Nan Simpson, who lived north of town in the woods, taking care of her mom and her maiden aunt, she was sweet on Ben. And Ben liked her too. But Ben's mama knew, you go to marry a white woman in post-Reconstruction America, why don't you just make the noose yourself? And so, they didn't. Ben dies, 1920. Lou dies, 1923. The year, my Uncle Monty, he's 1 year old in D.C. when the last of the Snowdens dies. And all their effects, their scrapbooks that the girls kept, the letters that they got from everyone, their sheet music, their instruments are kept in trust by the black community of Mt.Vernon for 3 generations until the Sacks come and do the primary research that results in the book that I write this review for Banjo Newsletter. So we remember Miss Snowden. We remember her because she had the band. We remember her because the book's about her. We remember her because the Greers, the white Irish Antrim-American family, they still remember her, have pictures, which they say is her. The black community still remembers them. Wonderful. But there's something else that we all know, but we don't know is theirs. Because Ellen Snowden remembered her time as a child, shared it with her husband, turned it into song. They shared it with their children. And one of their Irish-American neighbors debuted it in 1859 in New York City. And it became a worldwide hit. It is a hit to this day. You play it, you're going to know it. But now you know the source. Let's do just a little bit. Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton, cinnamon seeds and sandy bottom. Look away, 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 Dixieland. Oh, I wish I was in Dixie. Away, away. In Dixieland, I'll take my stand to live and die in Dixie. Not in Ohio, but back home. Wow. Now, my Uncle Monty and Auntie Muga, they got married down in Dixie and moved up north of that tobacco plantation back up to D.C. for family. And they did that magical thing with me. They brought me in and gave me all that they did. So blessed that that could happen. Now, last week, I'm going through pictures, and I find a picture I took, let's see, 40 miles and 200 years after that Negro Ball. In 1974, I went from my house, across Rittenhouse Street, through that little woods, through the alley, reached through the fence, went in, and took a picture of my Mom Hugh and Uncle Monty, as usual, at home in his bathroom, standing there taken together. And I say, what can I do? So I took a shot with my phone and texted it to my cousin Gina, the genealogist, my cousin Gina, my cousin June, and to Gina's daughter, Maya, who's at Wharton in Philadelphia right now. Vanessa and I visited her just a couple weeks ago. So I sent it to her, and like almost immediately, boop, I get a reply from Maya. My great-grands? And June says, half right. That's your great-grandma, Huella. And that's your grandpa's oldest brother, Monty. And I was happy that she got that connection, but then I stared at that and I said, oh, that's it? This man, this elder to me, this guy who was a pioneering computer nerd, programming mainframes for the government in the 60s, this guy who drank really cheap bourbon, and a lot of it, and told really bad jokes, but at one time or another loaned money to almost everybody in the family. How do I give this guy to her? I can compose a song, write a memoir, and no. So maybe next time I see her, maybe, I'm going to tell her of an autumn evening at dusk. 2 months before we came out here, before I came out, they were already out here. Before I came out here to Arizona. 2 years before Uncle Monty died. 100 years after Ellen Snowden died. And I'm out there with my uncle at dusk. It's late autumn, and the breeze is cooling as the darkness is falling behind us. So the breeze is coming at us, and I'm smelling fallen leaves. And I'm seeing the outline of the pine tree in front of my old house there. And Uncle Monty and I are standing in this little piece of woods that's left. And suddenly, I can't do anything. Because I'm suddenly infused with the thousands of times I have walked that path under those trees to turn that latch to go learn from my grandparents and have fun with my aunts and uncles and party with my cousins and hang out with friends and neighbors. It just comes out of the ground into me all those times. And I can just stand there and feel it and look at the sky. And there's this voice next to me of this person who's known me longer than I've been alive. He says, yes, Gregory, it does go by swiftly, doesn't it?